Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at KAKM for Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the warning watch advisory chart here, there's still a high wind watch out for the southern southeast coast here, Prince of Wales Island, Craigclawak, and on over to Ketchikan and Metlakatla. And that's for tomorrow afternoon and evening as the next storm comes northward there. Expected to kick the winds up, gusting possibly over 60 miles an hour tomorrow afternoon and evening. Yesterday's satellite imagery showed a break here over south central Alaska on down across the southeast coast, that in advance of the next system and the batch of clouds here rolling up toward the Panhandle late in the day and then back across Kodiak Island. And otherwise up to the north, upper level disturbance had some clouds and snow up over the northeast interior. And back to the west, we had moisture moving westward across the Bering Sea. On today's imagery, that upper level disturbance sliding southwestward. You can see the clouds here with some areas of light snow pulling into the western part of the state and out over the Norton Sound area down along the southwest coast. And that front now coming north of this portion, really weak through here. Just a few scattered showers along the peninsula from the eastern Aleutians and just clouds spreading into the southern interior with most of the rainfall still off the coast. In fact, there's not much at all with it. Just some light rain today, Kodiak Island. A little bit of light rain also got into Yakutat. But other than that, enough moisture did slide northwestward in Prince William Sound to bring some snow into Whittier and Portage this afternoon. Otherwise, the heavier amounts were down to the south with some gusty winds across the Panhandle. And back to the west, there was some clearing here pushing out into the Bering Sea to the Pribilof, but as that upper level low pulls southwestward, it kind of enhances the moisture, and you can see more clouds spreading southward this afternoon in across the northern Bering Sea, and then some scattered showers with some clouds out over the Aleutians. On the chart, here's the position of that front this afternoon. Again, the heaviest rainfall occurring over the southern southeast coast with Klawak getting a little under ½ an inch. Otherwise, Ketchikan had a little over an inch of rain. And then the front, again, all the moisture mostly off the coast, just about all off the coast, sliding into Kodiak Island, but they only picked up 0.08 of an inch in the last 24-hour period. And even lighter amounts, more scattered in nature back off across the Alaska Peninsula. Was a little bit of flurries today over the North Waytoke area and also around Galena and Caltag. And another batch here from Norton Sound down along the Yukon Delta coast to Nunivak Island, and a few flurries and patchy areas of fog with clouds up over the North Slope and the Arctic coast. Winds pretty gusty today, anywhere from 30 to 50 mile per hour winds along the southwest coast, the Delta, pretty windy at Bethel. Now extended northward through the Bering Strait across St. Lawrence Island, right up to the northwest coast, where Point Hope had gusts to about 50 miles an hour today, and also down to the Pribilof, seeing 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts there as well, but conditions dry. And lighter winds here along the Aleutians with some scattered rain and snow showers from Atka all the way back to Shemya. And for tonight, that front lifts off to the east and northeast as well as back to the north. Could be a narrow band of light snow or flurries from western Cook Inlet on the east side of the Alaska Range up to the northeast there across the 40-mile country, but whatever falls won't be much at all or very significant. Scattered showers to the southeast coast, maybe a little bit of clearing, and rain or snow here across the North Gulf Coast, light rain or snow, and that'll continue back in toward Kodiak Island with that southeasterly wind flow. And then gusty winds continue again to 50 miles an hour to the northeast. Actually, that's going to continue for St. Lawrence Island all the way up across the Chukchi Sea to about Point Lay, both through tomorrow and probably Monday as well. But the winds here along the southwest coast will begin to lighten up tonight as the gradient relaxes a little bit there. And still pretty brisk across the Pribilofs down into the eastern Aleutians, with this front really weakening as it passes into Bristol Bay. So I wouldn't look for much, if any, precipitation for places like King Salmon and Dillingham. And for tomorrow, upper level trough here responsible for this big area of moisture, light snow, mainly affecting the Pribilof Islands and out into the central Bering Sea. Otherwise, just some scattered showers there for the eastern Aleutians, showers scattered around the Alaska Peninsula, and a little more numerous from Kodiak Island up to the Kenai Peninsula, but staying dry throughout Cook Inlet, and also looks mostly dry here for the North Gulf Coast. And those gusty east winds 15 to 30, 35 miles an hour through the interior will continue to gust to 50 miles an hour from St. Lawrence Island all the way up to the northwest coast. And then we got this next storm coming northward here, and again that's responsible for the high wind watch that's been out for the last couple of days here for the southern panhandle. And again, tomorrow afternoon, look for those winds to kick up to 60, maybe 65 miles per hour in gusts. Heaviest wind and rain will occur across Prince of Wales Island, but it looks like the precipitation won't be all that heavy and will be mostly back out to the west and off the coast there, but some moisture extending all the way back to, again, as I mentioned, Kodiak Island and the Kenai Peninsula. And for Monday, or tomorrow night, this low will track northwestward and weaken, and by Monday afternoon should move to a position here just south of the Kenai Peninsula, and so that'll bring a little bit of an increase in the winds again for the North Gulf Coast as this trough rotates up to the coastline with precipitation in the form of either rain or snow here from Prince William Sound into the northern panhandle. Will be more showery in nature, and then those will scatter out here down over the southern southeast coast. Scattered rain and snow showers the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, and to a lesser extent over the eastern Aleutians, but you can see the lines are closest together here from the northern Bering Sea right up to the far western Arctic coast. So those winds still northeast 40 knots here through the Chukchi Sea all the way down to St. Lawrence Island, and still pretty windy here, especially for the higher, more exposed elevations of the interior, but looking at about 15 to 30 miles per hour. Basically lighter winds over the Copper River Basin areas, and low pressure now out over the western Aleutians. Not going to be much of a wind producer except back to the west, probably looking at some small craft advisory type northwesterlies with some snow showers, light winds for Adak and Atka with some clearing, and just isolated snow showers for the eastern Aleutians. Temperatures today along the southeast coast, 30s to mid 40s once again, 45 this afternoon at Sitka. Their high temperature is 46, which was the warmest in the state. Otherwise, we had 38 over at Cordova. Juneau had 35, 23 in Kenai with a 4-degree reading at Gulkana. Up to the north, Delta at 19 degrees, where it was pretty windy this afternoon, but Fairbanks with no wind, 8 below zero, 10 above at Bettles, and then Anatuvik back down to 11 below, and Tanana, 16 degrees. They came up from the state's low of 29 below zero. Central eastern Arctic coast, low below zero. The west side a little above. Single numbers and teens over the northwest interior. And cooler now, just 8 degrees at Bethel with strong northeast winds this afternoon. And 9 degrees at Savunga, 28 at St. Paul, with 30s to lower 40s for the peninsula, lower 40s for the eastern Aleutians. Lows for tonight, 30s, over the Panhandle. 20s to lower 30s here for the North Gulf Coast. Kind of mild Kodiak Island back across the Alaska Peninsula, lows in the upper 30s. And then from the Alaska Range northward to the Arctic coast, generally below zero, down to 0 to 5 above here for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. For the highs tomorrow, teens out that way, and otherwise 30s here for south central Alaska, 40s for the southeast coast, some areas staying in the 30s, and North Slope, the coldest areas there, staying below zero. Flying weather, again, due to the more offshore flow or offshore component of the winds, that's going to hold the marginal VFR tomorrow, mainly down over Dixon Entrance and then back along and off the coast with VFR type clouds here elsewhere. Otherwise, looks VFR for the North Gulf Coast, but marginal conditions Kenai Peninsula down across Kodiak Island, and VFR through Bristol Bay, eastern Arctic coast, just a patchy area of IFR possible, and then kind of a swath of IFR here from St. Lawrence Island all the way down to the eastern Aleutians. Checking out the passes, Anatuvik will be open once again, as will be Adigan. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, but moisture on the eastern approaches could make things a little marginal at times throughout the day Sunday. Rainy, though, will be VFR. Windy VFR. Isabel open. Mentasta open. And Tanita open. Portage, though, marginal VFR with lower conditions on the eastern approach. Chilcoot and White VFR. Freezing levels 2,000 feet from the Alaska Peninsula across the Barren Islands right up along the North Gulf Coast. And then that storm nudging some warmer air northward in across Prince of Wales Island late tonight and early tomorrow. For icing, again, most of the icing threats will be off the coast. May catch the area from about Sitka on down to Heidelberg, and then across the Gulf of Alaska. Some of that moisture could bring some icing into the Kenai Peninsula, maybe Kodiak Island. And then another batch out here over the Alaska Peninsula up across the Pribilofs in the southeast Bering Sea. Upper level wind flow chart showing the upper low associated with that surface storm coming up toward the Queen Charlotte Islands, and then an anchor low back out in this position. So this upper feature will drop southward and into the southeast over the next couple of days. This one will track northwestward, and with this anchored in place, any systems that form down here again will be sliding up to the north toward the southern southeast coast. And for 9,000 foot winds, pretty strong with that system, up to 65 knots there, but much lighter up to the north. Easterlies at about 15 along the North Gulf Coast, 25 to 30 across Kodiak Island. Quite windy here through the central interior, 25 to 45 knots, and lighter winds out over the southeast Bering Sea. 3,000 foot winds, again, pretty strong coming in, mostly toward Prince of Wales Island, and then easterlies on the light side here across southern Alaska, but a band of 25 to 40 knot winds over the north central interior from the border all the way out to the Seward Peninsula, and then those turn south and then diminish to about 20 to 25 in over the eastern Aleutians. Turbulence, occasional moderate chop, Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, again where those strongest winds will be up to the northwest coast there, and again eastward into the north central interior. Should be pretty smooth, Copper River Basin down into south central Alaska, even Kodiak Island. Possibility of severe turbulence here spreading in from the Queen Charlottes across Dixon Entrance into the southeast coast. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Working, traveling, or playing on the water is a way of life for Alaskans. But Alaska's cold water and harsh conditions can quickly turn any boating trip into a life-threatening emergency. Unlike marine mammals with their natural insulation and buoyancy, humans can't survive in Alaska's water without additional flotation and protection from the cold. Immersion suits are designed to provide the flotation and insulation a person's life depends on in a cold water emergency. Immersion suits, sometimes called survival suits, have been around for a long time. Today, there are a wide variety of sizes and designs available. There is no best brand of immersion suit. All should meet United States Coast Guard standards and have a label inside indicating Coast Guard approval. Having a Coast Guard approved immersion suit on board is just the first step. For an immersion suit to protect you in the water, it must fit correctly, be properly maintained, and be stored in an accessible location. You must also practice putting on your immersion suit quickly to make sure you can do so in an emergency. Commercial fishing vessels operating in cold waters are required to have an immersion suit of the proper size for each individual on board. The only way to find your correct size is to try on an immersion suit. Make sure it'll fit over the clothes that you typically wear on deck. Check to make sure the hood seals around your face, that your hands fit into the gloves, and that the suit will not ride up over your head. If it does, large amounts of water can enter through the hood, decreasing your chances for survival. If you are a between-sized person, try another brand of suit. One brand may be cut too large for you, while another brand may fit perfectly. In an emergency, you must be able to identify the correct size of immersion suit quickly. If there are different sizes of suits on board, mark them with easily recognized objects such as a whistle, a light, or some additional reflective tape. This will aid in quick identification, especially at night.
Hey Pat, how are you doing?
Hey Jerry, how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Broke the zipper on my suit, so I guess I need to get another suit for this trip.
Well, you bet. We got them right here.
When buying a new immersion suit, take a moment to examine the features and make sure it fits you. All immersion suits have a waterproof zipper. This is one of the most important features of the suit. Take a moment to make sure the zipper works smoothly and has a handle that is easy to grab. Immersion suits come with a wide variety of gloves to suit individual preferences. 3 or 5-fingered gloves are common, but may be difficult to work in. Removable gloves provide the most dexterity, but they are difficult to keep watertight and often cause your hands to get cold quickly. Try out different gloves to determine which type best meets your needs. Pockets for lights and other survival gear are an important feature on an immersion suit. On some brands, you can add pockets which zip into the flotation collar or slide over the arm. All immersion suits have a face flap that protects your nose and mouth. Some have Velcro attached to the back of the face flap to hold it open while donning the suit. Many immersion suits also have one-way exhaust valves built into the legs. These valves are designed to let air out without letting water in. They're intended to prevent trapped air from causing a person to float head down in the water. To be Coast Guard approved, an immersion suit must include the following items. It must have 62 square inches of retroreflective tape placed so it can be seen when a person is floating in the water. It must have a light with a dated battery. It must have a pillow or a collar that provides additional flotation. This additional flotation is very important in rough seas. The flotation collar is inflated by pressing down on the tip of the hose with your mouth and blowing air into it. When the tip is released, the valve closes and air can't escape. Make sure the tip of the hose moves freely without sticking. If the hose has a locking nut, make sure it is always set in the open or down position. Finally, Coast Guard regulations require immersion suits to be marked with the name of the vessel or the owner of the suit. Ask your immersion suit manufacturer for the type of marking ink they recommend. Immersion suits should be inspected at least once each month. If properly maintained, they will last many years. The zipper on an immersion suit should receive careful attention during each inspection. Green on the zipper is a sign of corrosion. To remove corrosion, try cleaning the zipper with a toothbrush and a slurry of baking soda and water. Rinse with fresh water. If any green is still present, repeat the process. If this doesn't remove all the corrosion, immediately remove the suit from service and send to a factory-authorized facility for repair. Immersion suit zippers need to be regularly lubricated with a non-petroleum lubricant recommended by the manufacturer. Spread the lubricant on all sides of the zipper. Be sure and lubricate the locking teeth on the back of the zipper. Slide the zipper up and down a few times to spread the lubricant evenly. Don't forget to lubricate the snaps on the stowage bag to assure easy access to your suit when you need it. Inspect the suit for holes, rips, burns, and grease or oil. Carefully inspect the seams for leaks in the hands, crotch, and other areas. Repair any damaged seams with a sealant recommended by the manufacturer. Pull gently on the inflation hose to make sure it is not loose. At least once a year, inflate the flotation collar to make sure that it will hold air overnight. Check the light for any sign of corrosion. Make sure to use dated batteries and replace any that are expired or soon to expire. Test the light. Inspect the retroreflective tape. Yellowed tape should be replaced. After using a suit in a swimming pool or in salt water, rinse it thoroughly with fresh water. It is best to dry your immersion suit in a well-ventilated area, out of the weather and out of the sun. To prevent destructive mold and mildew, it is important to dry both the inside and the outside of the suit. In the off-season, remove your immersion suit from the bag and store it indoors. This will keep the suit dry and allow the neoprene material to maintain its loft. It is highly recommended that suits be inspected once a year by an authorized service facility. Immersion suits must be stowed in an accessible location out of the weather. Look around your vessel and find the best place with ready access in all kinds of emergencies. The zipper should be stored in the open position with the zipper about an inch up from the bottom. This will allow the suit to be quickly donned in an emergency and give you room to work the zipper down if it jams. Put plastic bags in the suit so it will be easier to get your feet in quickly with boots or shoes on. Most suits should be rolled, not folded. Roll the suit up beginning at the feet and moving up the legs. Be sure the face flap is left open, either inside the hood or attached outside to the hood on the pad provided with some brands of suits. Roll the hood over the body of the suit, fold the arms across, slide the suit into the bag, and snap the bag shut. A slightly different method is used for Bailey's immersion suits. Bailey's recommends their suit be folded along the line of the zipper. Fold the suit into thirds and place the suit inside the Bailey immersion suit bag.
Southeast winds increasing to 50 knots here on the south coast with strong gales developing to the north and also into Clarence Strait out of the southeast. Minimum gales increasing here for the central coast, small craft advisories up to the north. And then Lynn Canal winds increasing to 35 knots tomorrow afternoon and about 30 knots for Stevens Passage. And then for Monday, those winds will come up again late in the afternoon to 40 knots here on the south coast with gales just to the north. And then 30 to 40 knots southeasterlies there for the remainder of the coastline. Southeast 30 for Clarence Strait. And then we've got small craft advisories for the remainder of the inside waters. For Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound tomorrow, northeast at 20. Small craft advisories here for the North Gulf Coast and across the Barren Islands and Kodiak Island. And also for the southern inlet into Kamishak Bay, 25 to 30 knot winds. Those will lighten up a little bit on Monday with 15 knots here, Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories from Kamishak Bay down across Shelikof Strait and down to 20 knots from the east-northeast here for the western Gulf Coast to Kodiak Island. But again, that system pulling back to the northwest, a weakening system bringing 30 knot easterlies back to the North Gulf Coast. For the Alaska Peninsula tomorrow, easterlies 25 knots, and then for Monday, northeast for the Alaska Peninsula, 20 knots, Bristol Bay northeast at 25. And for the Aleutians, northerlies at 25 knots with 12 to 14 foot seas there for the eastern Aleutians. Not too bad here, northerlies at about 20 for Adak and Atka, northeast 15 to 20 off to the west. And then for Monday, those pick up to 35 knots there west of Amchitka and northwest at about 30. But for Adak and Atka, winds laying down pretty remarkably here, just variable 10 in the forecast. and north to northwest 20 knots for the eastern Aleutians. For the southwest coast, northeast winds at 30 knots, even stronger St. Lawrence Island at 40 knots, heavy freezing spray with good gales here for the northern Bering Sea, northeast 25 for the Pribilofs. And for Monday, here no change for the St. Paul, St. George area with 25-knot winds right up into Kuskokwim Bay. A tad stronger here north of Nunivak Island, and stays, or gales remain here in the northern Bering Sea in across St. Lawrence Island to the Bering Strait. And for tomorrow, 40-knot winds from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, brisk wind advisories on the western Arctic coast, northeast 15 to 20 elsewhere. And for Monday, we've got 20-knot northeast winds here from Demarcation Point all the way to the central coast. Brisk wind advisories, 30-knot winds. Gales continue here from Wales to Cape Beaufort. For tonight, again, this very weak front may bring some light snow in the shaded area here to the eastern interior up to the Alaska Range, and then down the western Cook Inlet area, and also a chance of rain or snow for the North Gulf Coast. Just some scattered showers here for the Panhandle ahead of this next system that's starting to move up. Will bring the wind and rain in tomorrow afternoon. Gusty winds continue to 50 miles an hour, St. Lawrence Island up across the northwest coast. And for tomorrow, chance of snow there for the Pribilof Islands, isolated snow showers in the Aleutians. Stays windy over the central interior, back to the northwest, and then there's the next storm for the high wind watch that may become a warning there for the southern Panhandle. And for Monday, that storm weakens and pulls back to the west. That's a look at the weather. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.